It's painful to say goodbye.
It's hard to say I miss you.
The time of love
Is a gruesome cruise.
I need you now, beloved.
Yes, sometimes it may be hard to say goodbye, and it may be even painful to do that very thing. And sometimes it may be heart-wrenching to say, I miss you, especially when that which was important in your life has exited the realms of the living. So today we have the show, Handling Painful Goodbyes. And our topic for today is a ray of hope when death strikes. To take us through that process, we have our beautiful sister, Vuyi, and she's going to be talking to us. Welcome, Vuyi.
Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you. Would you introduce yourself so that people may know who we are talking to?
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. Hello, everyone. My name is Vuyisile Mazwi. I come from Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, a mother of 3 beautiful kids, a work in progress by God's grace.
Thank you. Thank you. I've heard that you are a work in progress, and it means that you are still climbing up a certain ladder, and I don't know where the ladder is headed. But I must be thinking that you must have had a childhood dream and maybe a perspective that maybe is socially constructed, or maybe that you have about marriage. And what was it like when you were growing up as a child?
Growing up as a child in an Adventist family, marriage was something that was always talked about, spoken about, as to say. It was expected that you grow up, you get married, and you move to your own home. So when I was growing up, I wanted to get married to someone like my father.
Okay, that's interesting. Like your father, okay. Oh, how was your father like? That which, I think he must have had some qualities that you admired. And what are those qualities? Maybe just pick 2 or 3, I don't know.
Okay, my dad is a very gentle person.
Oh, hey.
Tall, handsome,
Okay.
and loving.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful. I picked something that is a common thread among young people. Tall. The guy must be taller than me. So
Yes.
I don't know whether this became a reality when you got married.
Yes, it did.
Let's talk about that.
Yes. I met my husband at a youth camp. So the first time I saw him, I was like, wow, that tall guy.
Okay.
But then it didn't register that there was anything that was going to happen.
Wow, that tall guy.
Yes, that tall guy. So I don't know how he got my number. Back then, cell phones were just about starting, you know. So then he calls me and he asked me if I was coming for another program the following week at his church. So I went there, and from there he proposed. I was like, wow.
Okay.
I didn't say no.
Oh, beautiful. You couldn't say no.
Yeah, because it was just what I wanted.
He was just like your father. And
Yes.
wow, what a beautiful meet-up. And I think that camp must have been heaven ordained.
It must have.
From your perspective, I don't know whether from everybody's perspective, but this must have been a very beautiful meet-up, and it must have been a very great thing. And just share with us your married journey.
Well, it was a beautiful journey. Though it was short-lived, it was 2 years, 2 days, according to my calculations. As we all know that the first 2 years of marriage, we can safely say it's the honeymoon phase. Things are smooth, you know, you've got dreams, you've got expectations, you're getting to know each other, you know, the adrenaline, you know, you really don't know what to expect of each other, but it was quite a beautiful journey.
Wow.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. Please don't go away. After the break, we are going to listen to what happened after the 2 years and 2 days.
It's painful to say goodbye.
It's hard to say I miss you.
The time of love
Is it through some cruise?
I need you now, beloved.
Welcome back to the show, Painful Goodbyes. You are with me, Skombozo Dube and Vuyisile Mazwi. Before we went to the break, we were talking about your husband and the married life. What are the highlights from your married life?
Thank you, Pastor. My husband was a God-loving man. He dedicated most of his time working for God. Mm-hmm. He would go out of his way to make sure that the work in the house of the Lord was running smoothly. Mm. I remember there were incidences when we would host preachers would come for crusades or week of prayers. He would make sure they are well fed, they're taken care of. Even if the preacher was working, he would make sure he gets up early in the morning, take them to work. After work, bring them for the night service. I also remember this one time when the janitors from the church decided they didn't want to do some cleaning. He dedicated his time on Thursdays to take some time off work. We got to clean the church together. He was a loving father, very loving. I remember at one point when my little boy would cry, usually kids when they cry, they say mama, in our language, they say mama. But he would say daddy, Lord. It was quite weird. How do you cry calling your father instead of calling your mother? So he had a very good bond with his son. And if ever there is a thing that he really looked forward to was taking his son to school. The first day taking your son to school, he would always say, Lord, I pray that you give me life until I see my son go to school the first day. It was one of his dreams to see his son go to school and taking up the responsibility of a father. He was a very, very responsible person. Wow. And he loved reading stories to his son. And as far as our relationship is concerned, well, we were very close. I'm not a very talkative person, but I remember this other day he said to me, if ever there is a thing that I liked about you, is the peace that I find in you. Okay. I was like, peace, me? I could not understand what he meant then. But now I really understand it so much because I'm not a very talkative person. Yes, I do talk, but I'm not a very talkative person. So, at work there's so much noise and I want to come home to peace, That was how best our relationship was. He was very comfortable with me, and I liked that about him.
Oh, what a journey and what a life-changing and touching situation it was. And I just want to know, maybe if you are comfortable in relating how your journey was, the 2 years and 2 days, and the last days when you lost your spouse.
Well, like I said before, our married life was short-lived. At one point, he came home complaining of some headache and some chest pains. So we thought it was something that was going to pass. Then, as time went by, the pain grew worse. So we decided to seek medical help. And then when he went to see the doctor requested that he run some tests. So when they did the test, they found out that there was something wrong with the liver. So for them to conclude on the problem, they had to do a liver biopsy. So I remember the day when he went for the test, the liver biopsy test. When he came home, he was different. He was a very jovial kind of person, the kind of man who comes home and everything lights up. But that day, it was different. His face was something I'd never seen before. So then he comes home with the results and he says to me, "I've got cancer." That was a blow.
That was a blow.
Cancer, just like that.
And what
Cancer. The question was, cancer where? It was the liver. So what came to my mind was how, you know, because knowing him, he never smoked at any point in his life. He didn't even drink at any point in his life. So it was mind, blowing. How does someone who's never done all these things suddenly have cancer of the liver? So it was a very difficult point. We never had the answers. We didn't know what really could have brought up the whole thing. Then the sad part was, knowing cancer, it doesn't attack you like quickly. It's got stages, stage 1, stage 2. But with him, it was different because his condition was deteriorating almost every day. So then we later on went to South Africa for treatment. And when we were in South Africa for treatment, we went to one of the best hospitals in Florida. It was a private hospital run by white people. The only black people you would find in the hospital was maybe the nursing staff or the janitors. So we had that hope that we are getting the best treatment, But unfortunately, he never responded to the treatment. His condition went worse, by day. And then finally we came back home. They told us to come back home. When you're told to go back home, the next thing you're asking yourself, did anything work, So we came home, went to Mater Day, and when we went to Mater Day, the doctor that attended us gave us morphine. So to me, morphine, it's the last drug that is given to a person to die peacefully. So that didn't settle well with me. I lost hope. Because at least maybe if it was an antibiotic, I would understand. Maybe we're dealing with some bacteria or something, but it was morphine. So I was supposed to give him morphine. And now when you're giving someone morphine, you know that person is going. It was a very difficult time for me because I had to be strong for him, There are times when I would break down. I couldn't break down in front of him. I would go out of the room, break down, come back, go out of the room, break down, come back. And when the person is at that stage in life, they are more of a baby because you have to make sure they go to the washroom. You have to make sure you feed them. And that on its own was killing him, knowing at this age I'm being treated like a baby. But that was the only thing we were left with. We had to take care of each other. Then I remember the last week he passed away. The question he asked me is, why is God doing this to me? I could not answer that question because I also didn't know why God was doing that to him. So I had to be strong for him, like I said before. I kept on saying he has a reason why. That's what kept us going, saying he has a reason
why.
Yes.
That was the most difficult part of the journey, and we understand that it must have been extremely painful when that was happening. And the question, why is God doing this to me? And what has been the most difficult thing that you have faced in your life?
Growing up in a society as girls, we are socialized that you have to leave home one day and have a home of your own. So when this happened, the question was, what do I do from now? That was the most difficult thing I had to come across with. What do I do from now? How do I handle my life from now? Because what I know is I should be married. I should be running my home. I should have someone next to me. But here I own my own. How do I handle things from now? That has been the most difficult. That was the most difficult part there. Yes.
Now, we're growing up in a society that has got a lot of stigma pertaining to, and you are a young widow, there's a lot of stigma. Maybe let's talk about that as well.
You know, in an African society, when a husband dies, the normal thing is you are the one who killed him. The society labels you a witch. The society will give you names. The blame comes on you. That's the stigma that is with losing a husband in our African society. So when people are looking at you, they are looking at a witch, they are looking at someone who is a killer. You know, it really destroys someone inside. And you become what you call umazakela. I don't know how you put it in English.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the other thing that.
It's a derogatory term. Yeah.
Yes, it really affects your self-esteem, because when you're walking amongst people are pointing at you, people are calling you names. You really have to be strong to stand above that. So the stigma is so terrible that it tears down your self-esteem. You lose your self-worth, you know, from the girl growing up with dreams to a widow. They are two different worlds. Yes.
That must be very hard and heartbreaking indeed. And maybe in the society there are things that we actually do and we maybe say, and you've shared the Mazakela aspect. Maybe there are things that we do that may evoke the pain of losing your husband. What could be those things?
Yeah, in our society we have bold people who really don't have boundaries when it comes to helping people go through pain. You have this saying that goes, I don't know how you would put it in English, yamasego. When you are young and your husband passes away, they'll say to you, ulamasego, like meaning uti isego has got 4 legs. So if the first husband is gone, automatically the second one is going, the third one is going, then you circle on the fourth one. So it was quite a difficult thing to handle, because you're asking yourself, will I go through that as well? Pain after pain after pain. That's what the society brings to us. They are not really mindful of what they say to you because of the stigma, that you carry.
There you have it, friends. This is what we do, and when we come back in the next segment, we are going to look at ways of coping and helping people that are going through this difficult time.
It's painful to say goodbye.
It's hard to say I miss you.
The time of love
Is it through some cruise?
I need you now, beloved.
Welcome back. This is the show, Painful Goodbyes. I'm with Vuyi. We've been discussing a very important topic, and we are discussing a ray of hope when death strikes. She has shared her story, and I'm wondering, if there are any triggers that awaken the grief and how you handle those ones.
Yeah, they are there, especially when you see couples together. You look at them and say, but what happened to me? You know, seeing couples together, it brings back the memory. You know, you start saying, if only he was here. But then you tell yourself, well, God allowed it to happen. So I have to accept it and keep moving. And especially when birthdays come, you know, boys and their fathers, you know, the absence of the father in a boy's life is a constant trigger. Wishing that he was there to mentor the child, wishing that he was there to teach him quite a number of things that you as a woman can't do. It's also a trigger as well. But because God gave us good support systems, there are uncles, there are other people who chip in to do one or two things. God provides us with those people to help us along the way.
Knowing that this is a very difficult thing, what has been your source of strength?
My source of strength has been God. Knowing that God loves me, knowing that God is there, and He has done so much for us along the way. There is so much evidence that I can spend the whole day narrating, you know, how faithful He has been. So He has been my source of strength along the way. And I was blessed by a God-loving grandfather, my late grandfather, Timothy Chabangu. He was a spiritual mentor to me. So him being available when I needed support, he's been a good source of strength. But mainly it's been God and His grace.
It's not your first time hearing you talking about this story, sharing it. How did you transition to a place where you are comfortable in talking about this heart-wrenching story?
Grief has got stages, and you have to allow yourself to heal. Because if you don't allow yourself to heal, it's like allowing a wound to become septic.
Okay.
You know, when you get hurt, your wound bleeds. It bleeds for some time and the bleeding subsides. And then you have that layer, on that dark layer on the wound. And when you remove that layer, there's a little bit of blood that comes out and it dries again. And then we have another layer. When you remove the last layer, there'll be no blood at all. So grief is like that. It's got its stages. So you have to allow yourself to heal. You have to allow yourself to go through every stage of grief. Because if you don't allow yourself to go through every stage of grief, your wound becomes septic. And if it becomes septic, it attracts negative vibes around you. But if you allow yourself to heal, people come around you because they become comfortable around you. The people who want to help you will come around and help you. But if you don't allow that wound to heal, you attract the wrong people. People come to you with negative vibes, so I can say, and the healing process becomes longer. So I allowed myself to go through every stage of healing, allowing myself to heal, telling myself that this is what has happened. If I let it go beyond this, it kills me. So to help myself, I had to allow myself to go through all stages of healing.
Thank you. If you were to speak to the younger Vuyi, what would you say to her?
Well, I would say trust God. Because when you trust God, life becomes much easier.
Okay.
Because He's the only source of strength, He's the only source of hope, and you find all the answers from Him. Because in this process, you have so many questions which no one can answer. Because with the questions that you have, the why me, no one can answer all those questions besides God.
So what would be your last words of hope to someone that may be going through this difficult time?
What I would say is pain is an inevitable part of life as long as we are living this side of the world. We all go through pain, but the most important thing is how you manage your pain. If you're going through pain, make sure that you have a good support system. And if the good support system is not there, there is a God in heaven who is ready to carry us through when we are going through whatever challenge we are going through. There is a song that I like. It says, if he carried the weight of the world upon his shoulders, I know, my brother, that he'll definitely carry you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for spending time with us. And thank you, Vuyi, for coming to the show. And I hope you have been blessed. So for me, Skumbuza Dube and Vuyisile Mazwi, and the crew behind the scenes, it's a wrap.
It's painful to say goodbye.
It's hard to say I miss you.
The time of dawn
Is it through some cruise?
I need you now, beloved.
Hi out there, my name is Skumbuza Dube, the host of the show, Painful Goodbyes. This is a show that narrates the lives of those that have gone through difficult things and they have lost a certain thing or a certain person or a certain kind of a valuable entity that they may have had. Do you have that kind of a story and are you willing to share it? This is the place to share that story. Get in touch with the producer of the show and the contacts are on the screen below.